Welcome to the October 23rd, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast of what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And Dracologist.
You're not Pyro Jack Frost.
Wait a minute.
Sadly, he could not be here.
More like you edged him out. I mean, how inconsiderate.
Well,
Pyro Jack Frost has a degree, but he's no Dracologist.
Hold on. Wait for me. I go back in. It's like 5 minutes and check he's still in the trunk.
Yeah, great. It's like that. It's like in Goodfellas. We're just having this casual conversation. He's just outside this whole time and nobody knows.
Now I'm gonna have to go back and add the introduction where we can't have Vise, Pyro, Lotus, and friends. It's just not gonna.
Yeah, it doesn't gel quite the same. Yeah.
I'm not a friend. You hurt me. I'm not doing you any more intro songs, dude.
Oh, we'll just have to use yours. Terrible.
Perfect.
But anyway, we have another great show here. We have a lot of things to talk about. The things just keep popping. Like really cool, relevant things have been happening in the retro gaming world, and also, in the sectors where we care about a lot of stuff. So
this was some week, and a lot of the stuff came out actually very shortly after we re-recorded our last recon, because it started on Monday, the beginning of a new week, but we usually record Sunday, so all of a sudden we got hit with all this cool stuff to talk about.
The funny thing is, I tend to think that our interests are niche. We don't talk a whole lot about AAA games. We tend to talk about indie titles and retro stuff. And
Wise, tell me a AAA game that in the last month, 2 or 3 months, that was worth mentioning, and it wasn't a Ubisoft sandbox game or an EA.
Well, this is kind of
buy the game 50 times again.
Well, this is kind of cheating because it just came out.
Tomb Raider.
No, I was gonna say Soul Calibur 6.
Soul Calibur 6, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't even played it yet, but I love Soul Calibur.
There are other titles. I mean, you have Spider-Man in the last couple, month or so.
I haven't touched that one either, but I hear it kills.
I mean,
I heard it's okay,
games.
but it kind of have few padding things that are a little bit iffy. But
whatever. No game's gonna be perfect. Although I guess your point is that we're like, I can think of 2.
Yeah, I mean, AAA titles don't happen every week like they did, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No, what it happens that there are specific months where the developments are staked out onto. Christmas is a big, the floodgates open that day.
Yeah, and not to mention timing releases, or at least timing announcements for E3.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Summer is a massive drought, not just water-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. But there's some really cool announcements here. The biggest being from Analog, the makers of Analog NT Mini and the Super NT, which are FPGA, Nintendo, and Super Nintendo consoles specific, in particular, that we have talked about in the past that are both extremely great quality. Comes the announcement of the Mega SG.
Yeah, that is some hype for real. So what does SG stand for, Vice?
Yeah, so it is not only a FPGA Sega Genesis, but also an FPGA Sega SG-1000 and a Master System as well, and probably a Game Gear.
Well, it's kind of a Master System. It's mostly a Master System. From what I've heard, obviously it takes Genesis or Mega Drive games. Just like the Super NT, it's region free, so you can use Genesis and Mega Drive games. But it also, I forgot if it naturally accepts or it comes with a converter to accept Master System cartridges.
So it does come with a converter.
Yeah, it does not naturally accept Master System cards, but from what I've heard, you could hook it up to any Sega accessory it normally would have had. So you can hook it up to a Sega CD. You can probably, no, I think you can you can put a 32X into it, and if it could take all that stuff, then it can probably take a power base converter, which means at that point it could take Master System cards.
Well, no. It comes with a Master System converter already.
Okay.
In box, and they are planning cartridge adapters for the card games and the SG-1000 games as well.
So they will need that ability later then, I guess.
Well, probably more than likely the Jailbreak firmware will come out and you'll be able to play ROMs on it. Just like you are able to with the Super Nintendo one, and the NT Mini for that regard. So this is really great for a number of reasons, but one of them being that the Genesis does not have perfect RGB out, meaning that its output of its analog signal is not completely perfect. It is prone to having what's called jail bars, which like on an old CRT and old TV, this wouldn't be a problem, but like on a really clean HDMI signal on a like a 4K TV or a 1080p TV, you're going to see lines going across the screen, and it interrupts the image.
Yeah, and actually
interesting. Vice, do I have to ask that? Does this system has blast processing?
It will.
It will. Why wouldn't it? No, actually,
no. You can't play Sonic games at all on it. They are putting a hard lock on Sonic games. You can play everything else, but no Sonic games.
Yeah. But that's too much blast. No, actually, one thing that I really am happy about though is that this is going to be obvious because the other systems came with it. But HDMI out and natural upscaling. But what makes this a particularly big deal is that Vice and I both have FrameMeisters, and Vice also has an OSSC, like an upscaler device. The thing is, there were 2 or 3 different resolutions for Genesis games. So you might actually want to have different settings on your upscaler because this game looks a little different in the same setting that the other game would look normal in. So if you have a naturally upscaling Mega SG, then I assume that it'll know what to do with all those games and you won't need to worry about multiple different profiles even if you did have a FrameMeister upscaling unit.
Correct.
Man, if I may, this kind, the monitor scaling and like different configuration reminds me when I used I have a various Commodore 64 emulator systems.
Yeah.
And it has 2 specific options: PAL and NSTC.
Yep.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, and some games actually don't work on one of them. Like some like PAL, some like NSTC. Otherwise, they don't load or don't behave properly.
Yep.
Like things clip through each other and stuff. And this is very interesting. Like this happens with this sort of emulation systems, but they are compact game. I don't know what would you call these?
What the new system? It's basically a hardware emulator.
FPGA.
Yeah.
FPGA console. So, and I will explain this for the uninitiated, just real quickly. What an FPGA is, it's a field programmable gate array. Once again, this is a way of emulating a circuit board or chipset, or a combination of the two. Basically, you are programming a computer to have the layout of a different circuit board inside of this chip that allows you to do so. And it's really neat. So basically, you program it to have the layout, and it will behave exactly the same way as something that that had that layout and was made. So it's not the same thing as, you know, your PC emulators, your Android emulators, you know, anything
those are software.
Those are all programmed in software and made to fit within the limitations of, you know, your PC or whatever machine you're running it off of. This is essentially emulating the actual hardware.
Yeah, so you can get a bit of a difference in this
from the very bones of it.
Yeah, and you could get a bit of a difference in this because, like what Vice implied a second ago, even if you do have a really good emulator on your PC, you're still running your game in the emulator, which itself is running in your PC. So you have multiple layers of software running going on at the same time.
Pretty much.
Whereas the system, like these FPGA systems, like the system, it works like an actual Genesis or a Super Nintendo or whatever. It reads your cartridge and it goes.
So the important thing is that the really cool thing about these FPGA systems is they are so accurate in emulating the system that pretty much they have all of the good stuff in making one of the in the old systems, but none of the bad stuff. So, for instance, the Super NT, a lot of people are even coming out and saying that it's better than original hardware because you can actually, you know, without modding it or doing anything, display it in 1080p and also have perfect sound and perfect visuals without any problem, without any modification at all, and it behaves almost identically. Like it's so close that nobody's ever going to complain about it.
Yeah, I saw on a Facebook group that Vice is also a part of. It's like an upscaler club, pretty much. And this is an entire group of just technophiles. And somebody had asked, which is better, a Super NT or a Model 2 Super Nintendo that's been modded with RGBA out?
Super
and
NT.
People were saying either the Super NT or like just take your pick, and that's high praise for the Super NT, by the way.
Yeah, nobody has any complaints about it.
Like these are people who are obsessed. Like these are people who are hardcore. Like I am only playing my video games on RGB cords and PVM CRT TVs, and like if they're willing to accept the Super NT, that's quite a big deal, actually.
The only like downside that these systems have is that they don't have any analog out, therefore they cannot be used on a CRT currently.
That's true.
However, they probably will eventually. Apparently, they have some kind of digital analog converter in the works or something like that. The analog company. I'm not interested in it, and I don't believe the mainstream user will be, because most people want to get those CRTs out of their houses. As much as I like gaming on a CRT, they are inconvenient to have, and they will all break down eventually. They're not being replaced.
Dangerous.
And they're dangerous.
Yeah, with these giant fuck off like AC adapters that like at this point in 2018, 2017, 2016 get like overheated if you're playing your Genesis for like 2 hours. Like I don't need those anymore, and they also take up way too much space when you plug them in.
No, a CRT was also actually, it's basically a tube filled with explosive gas.
That is true. That is true.
And not only that, but it's also shooting radiation right at your face, and only has like a glass tube blocking it. With 3 electron guns shooting these things. And also, if you open one up or break one, you have a good chance of electrocuting yourself, even if it's not plugged in.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, so I mean, there's all kinds of problems also associated with making them as well. They used extremely bad chemicals in order to be made. There's like all kinds of mercury and stuff in them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that in all of our other technology too. I'm not saying it's
well, yeah, but I mean, if you can get a better solution, then
correct.
Do it. don't insist on keeping the bad stuff. But anyway, back to the SG. I do want to point out one thing that we didn't address before. Just like the Super NT when it was released, there are variations of the system just for aesthetic swag. So the Super NT came in like the gray and purple colors that America was used to. Well, yeah, I was gonna get there. Yeah, it also had the Japanese color set up with like the red, blue, yellow, and green buttons and stuff. And yeah, there was a clear variation as well, like the old Game Boy.
And a black one.
and and the jet black one. The Sega Genesis has, again, the American, European, and Japanese color schemes, but there's also a pure white one, which is interesting just on principle. Just like
it's kind of cool.
A white Genesis. It's kind of like the official white PS2 that came out a while back. It was like, like it's just kind of an interesting little thing.
Yeah, like, and for people that like the Apple aesthetics, you know what I mean?
That's interesting that most consoles were like either gunmetal gray or gunmetal black. Like Nintendo started white with the Wii, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's because they
wanted
to emulate the aesthetics of Apple products at the time.
Yeah, the original Famicom was like red and gold or red and yellow. I forgot why that was. I know there was a reason, but I just don't remember what it was.
The president of Nintendo at the time liked red.
Okay.
It was the color of his favorite scarf.
Well, there you go. Perfection. But yeah, then there was the Dracologist had a whole lot of gray. The Dreamcast went white. But yeah, Nintendo, like you said, the Wii was white, and the Wii U went right back to like jet black.
Well, there's also a white variation of that. The standard was white, believe it or not. Even though the standard was not the one that you wanted to buy.
Oh, that's right, because it was 8 gigs.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
To say that.
Yeah.
Yes, that with the handhelds they went nuts with the coloration.
Oh, the Game Boy Color was insane. Like, how many variations were there?
Like, Wario's DS with the custom paint jobs on their back.
Oh, and the 3DS with 1,000 skins and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's swag. It's basically swag, show off swag.
Yeah.
Well, with the Mega SG, they have those 4 variations, which is really cool. I'm going to go with the American one just because I love the aesthetic of the
That's what I did. Yeah.
The Genesis, which is what is it, black and burgundy?
In the middle a little bit, yeah.
Burgundy accents, it's not like all burgundy, it's not.
Yeah. You know, it'd be funny if they did the high definition graphics on it.
That would be amazing, and
it's
it would actually be true.
It's the silliest thing. On the actual Genesis, like on the real Sega Genesis from the 90s, the earlier model said high definition graphics. I think it meant like 16-bit is more than 8-bit, but like it literally says HD graphics, and it's like, no.
I mean, there were high resolution modes that were higher resolution than the 240p.
A 240p, that's fair. That's fair.
It is I think the reasoning behind that, but it's not what high def means as of right now, by any stretch of it. But what's also cool is this has native support for PAL and Japanese games as well, to play at proper timings, which is going to be great. Without any modification or anything like that, right out of the box. And they are looking into implementation of how they are going to get it to work with the 32X. There is talk that Kev Triss is, or the president of Analog has talked about the possibility of adding an FPGA core for the 32X as well, on top of everything.
Well, that would be cool on principle, because it would be kind of a shame to keep your giant-ass Genesis around just to play, of all things in the world, the 32X.
Yeah, and there's 10 exclusive games for the 32X that are and less that are worth playing. Yeah,
like the SG ideally would be a replacement for the Genesis and not an addition, I mean, I do remember seeing in that Retronauts article you linked to, though, that it said that it should be able to accept all of the accessories, including like everything from the Game Genie. So like if it could take the Game Genie, then like the 32X shouldn't be much of a stretch.
Well, the big problem is that you got to remember how you hook up a 32X. It needs to have an analog out port in the Mega SG in order to interface with it.
Okay.
So there's a problem there. That's the major issue. In fact,
Time for the analog 32X.
Yeah, I mean it is compatible with the Sega CD.
Yes.
You can plug a Sega CD into it.
That makes me very happy.
So I mean, there are way many good Sega CD games. Many.
People like to rag
on
the Sega CD for the stupid like FMV like reflex button pressing games, but there's more to the Sega CD than that. And the thing is, the system got overlooked because it was kind of obscure even at the time. So like there really is a solid library for the Sega CD. So it would be cool if the Analog SG got like kind of started to revive interest in it.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of people are saying that the Sega CDs are going to go up in price because there's renewed interest.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So especially working ones. I mean, I have a really nice Model 2 Sega CD, which is the one to have. The Model 1 sucks. I would not recommend anybody buy one.
The Model 1 was the like the CD drive, like the drawer opened that way.
Yeah.
Whereas the Model 2 was like a PS2 where you click a button and it pops open.
Yeah, so not only is this going to have a lower profile, a smaller profile, I think it's going to be this new Sega Mega SG is going to be roughly the size of a Genesis Model 2, which is pretty neat because it'll be smaller than the Genesis 1.
Yeah, the Genesis Model 2 is pretty small compared. Yeah.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Question. This is not like what the Nintendo made. Like it has all the games.
No.
This,
you can use actual cartridges on this.
Yeah, this is like this is not an NES Classic or a Genesis Classic. This is, this is like if Sega had made a Model 4. Like it's a new Genesis basically.
It's a refurbished version of their old console.
Yeah, it's a new Genesis with HDMI out that upscales. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
2.0.
I mean, this isn't going to come with any games, so you're going to need to either buy an EverDrive or your own games, but it's going to play them in the most perfect way possible.
That's the thing.
And
the
most the most convenient way possible.
Yeah.
I have money for neither.
Because that's the thing with the NES and the SNES Classics is they don't have cartridge slots because at this point it's for most people it's kind of like a weird redundant thing to have. It's just the digital games they come packaged with. So this really is like it doesn't have. I think the Super NT actually came with like Super Turrican or something, but that
did.
Was,
but that was.
Yeah,
it came with Super Turrican and Super Turrican 2.
Okay, but that's it.
I do have to say that just the natural Turrican 2 is the best.
Turrican, regular Turrican 2, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen the Super Turrican 2. It had its own spin on the thing.
So yeah, they're basically Turrican 4 and 5 respectively. But anyway, the Genesis has a Mega Turrican, which is a port of Turrican 3.
Oh.
And PC had Hurricane, which is a busy fan-made version by the same devs.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and there's also a Universal Soldier. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I actually saw some better than. Wait, isn't this Turrican?
Yeah, so it's Turrican 2, but they put a Universal Soldier skin on it, and it looks really weird. So you're fighting giant robots that look like Dolph Lundgren's character, and it doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
that's so cool.
But anyway, this is really exciting. You're going to be able to play your old games in HD, upscaled natively. It's going to work on modern TVs, no problem, and it's probably going to sound really good because it's made by the same engineer who made the other FPGA systems, which were perfect by and large.
Not only that, but I mean, this is obviously why it would be better than a Genesis in general, but especially more convenient than a Model 1 because Model 1 Genesis only had mono audio and not stereo. If you wanted stereo audio, I mean, aside from Vice and my esoteric setups, if you wanted stereo audio under normal circumstances, you would actually have to hook up your audio cable to the headphone jack, which the system had, and then hook that up to like a splitter, like a Y cable that turned the white from into red and white, and then you could have stereo sound. It was pretty weird. The Model 2 just had stereo sound.
Yeah, but it didn't sound as good.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I really don't like when the music is like, I can hear the percussion in my left ear and the solo in my right ear. Like, please, could you normalize that I don't have
No, well, that I understand if it comes out equally on both sides or something, but sometimes mono audio, it comes out on just one side and it's weird. Or actually, there are some cases with like Vector Man. This is a weird example to bring up, but Vector Man, I remember like one of my favorite tracks in Vector Man is Level 3's theme,
I
and
love that theme.
it used the stereo audio as a gimmick. It would play like the first verse in the left side, the second verse on the right side, and like alternated a bit, so it was clearly like it was almost like what Nintendo does with its fucking motion controls. With like, look at our see that new technology. We know how to use it. So it was like playing with stereo audio. It was kind of amusing.
That song is bitchin' though.
It is.
But anyway, this is very exciting. I pre-ordered one right away. Normally I don't do this kind of thing. I wait for reviews, but I know where it's coming from.
Yeah, they have a track record.
They have a good track record. Their releases have been on time. I have no problem with it. So I pre-ordered it and did it right away. I can't wait for it.
And I have a Super NT like you. Like their stuff is like well packaged. It's very clean looking. And this isn't quite the same thing, but even their website is really professional looking. Like it's like a solid product. Like these guys clearly care.
And they've grown a lot too. They went from their first two products were essentially like gutted and repurposed original hardware. Like the original NT Mini or the original analog NT.
Yeah.
Was actually like basically a hacked recycled Famicom.
Oh wow.
Before they started doing FPGA systems, they did that. And they also did consoleized Neo Geos in like wood frames. They did that as well. So they no longer even make that model. So
yeah, if you go to their website, that's the weird thing. If you go to their website, you can see pre-orders for the SG right now. You can see regular orders. Do you want to buy the Super NT? The NT Mini says sold out, and I think it's going to say that forever. But the Neo Geo thing isn't even there.
Yeah, the only mention of it is on their support page. So I would gather to say that after after all the hubbub has ceased and they've also made a lot of sales of this Mega SG, that I wouldn't be surprised if they put out a third NT system. Nintendo system, because the NT Mini has some features that probably make it too expensive and aren't necessary, and one of them being the case. The case is probably the most expensive part of it. It is metal, like straight up metal, and that doesn't need to exist. They can also do this kind of cartridge converter thing if you want to play Famicom games on it. It doesn't need to have like a bunch of different cartridge slots like the original does.
That's true. Even like I don't have that. I have an AVS, but it's the same thing. It has a Nintendo slot and it has a Famicom slot.
Yeah, it doesn't need it. And the last thing, which is probably a big thing, is it doesn't need 4 controller ports. If you want to play those few 4-player games, just buy a 4-score adapter.
Yeah,
a 4-score adapter is very cheap and inexpensive. You could buy one of those. That's not a terrible feature to not have. There are very few really great Nintendo 4-player games, but they are fun. Like Super Spike V-Ball is a lot of fun, and Super World Cup Soccer is a lot of fun. But you could get a 4-score for those. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a whole system that's all tricked out with extra ports. You're never going to use them in very few instances.
Once you get your hands on this system, what will be the first 3 games you're going to play with it?
The very first game is going to be Streets of Rage 2 because I want to make sure that it looks and sounds great.
All right.
And once that's out of the way, I may try virtual racing to see if it's compatible.
To see. My number 2 was going to be either Sonic 2 or Sonic 3.
Sonic 2 or Sonic 3. Yeah. Those are big ones. But yeah, I mean, and also I would probably check out a Sega CD game to make sure it works properly as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
No doubt.
All right.
Probably Snatcher.
Yeah. Gotta
But
do it.
yeah, I mean, once again, this is going to be compatible with everything, but probably the light gun games, like the Menacer games. So, I mean, it's no big loss. I mean, they're coming out with solutions for that, and like if you really want to play them, you can emulate them. So it's a small price to pay to eliminate two or three titles. The Menacer had even less support than the Super Scope did. There was the Menacer 6, which the Menacer came with. It came with a 6-game cart.
like little mini games.
And it also was compatible with Terminator 2 for the Genesis.
Yep.
So
you mean the Transformer?
No, Terminator 2, like the movie, like the arcade game, but for the Genesis.
There is a Decepticon Transformer called Menasor.
Oh, really?
Oh, jeez.
I didn't know that. That's Pyro's territory.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got to move on, but I'm excited, very excited for this, and I hope to one day have these FPGA systems replace all of my stuff, and for me never to have to use an upscaler device. I mean, as good as these things are, they're a pain they're an extra step in playing the game, and also something you have to fiddle with in order to get your games to work on them. And in order to get your systems to look good on them, you have to modify them most of the time. I mean, you don't have to do that with the Genesis, but most of the systems you do. Yeah. So I can't wait to get rid of them. as much as I like to tinker and all that stuff.
All the system now fits in your pocket, not taking up an entire.
Hey,
that's true too.
That would be really cool if somebody came out with an FPGA Switch size system that could play all of these cores and then also hook up to the TV, and also I could take them on the go. That would be really neat.
I'm pretty sure you could do some sort of small box-like thing that has all the hardware in it that can read the stuff, and then you could hook up various styles of peripherals, like this one, like card reader, disk reader, various kind of adapters and stuff.
Yeah.
Like how Steam wanted to make the Steam box, like that you can
modular and all that. Yeah, it would be cool. But
tell them that, let them think about it, and maybe it ignites some sort of idea.
Make him around sometime, but we really should move on to the next topic, because this is another big one that I think Lotus really wants to talk about.
Well, actually, before I get to the big one, I do want to bring up a quick smaller one, because it's quick and tangentially related to this modding talk. Have you heard of the company Pound? Because they have released... Yes. Yeah, they have released... okay, well, Dracologist, they have released an HDMI adapter for the original Xbox, and I think the Dreamcast.
Correct.
So you can hook those systems up to your HD TVs. I can't speak for the Dreamcast quality one. From what I've heard, though... Or the quality of the Dreamcast one, I meant. From what I've heard... The first releases of the Xbox One were kind of spotty. They had some noise, but I think later releases have kind of fixed that problem. But they're now currently collaborating with Limited Run Games to release an HDMI cable for the PS1 and PS2. So this isn't going to upscale, but you can hook your PS1 and PS2 up to an HD TV without modifications. The only real weakness is, I mean, this is perfectly fine for the PS1, but it only goes up to 480i, so if you really want that 480p look, then you're going to have to stick with Component for the PS2. But it's still a pretty convenient solution.
Yeah, I was going to say, for probably Lotus's and my usage, these cables, probably all three of them, except for maybe the Xbox One, the original Xbox One, are not up to our kind of specs.
Yeah, the Xbox is pretty nice, because what's the best you can do with the Xbox? No, components.
720p or 1080i.
But components, so
yeah. Yeah, and it works really well.
Yeah.
So anyway, the the HDMI cable they came out with the Dreamcast has some limitations. One of them being that it only works with the VGA compatible games.
Yeah.
On Dreamcast, so it is incompatible with several games for the system that are actually really fun. And unfortunately, we're not compatible with the VGA out that the Dreamcast had. The Dreamcast had a very weird like video out system. Like some of the games were VGA compatible out, and some of them weren't. So you would have to go with RGB.
Yeah, and it's a little frustrating because now we have technology to help compensate for this, but back then you just had to keep unplugging and replugging different cables. It's not even like, oh no, I only have one cable and I gotta hook it up to different systems. Like, you're swapping cables on the same system. It was bizarre.
Yeah, so the biggest game, probably most important game, is Bang.io. Is not VGA compatible. So therefore, the HDMI cable is not compatible.
Actually, even though I would probably side with the PS1 version of this game anyway, I noticed that JoJo, the fighting game, was not compatible. I was like, oh man.
Well, not only that, but it got an HD re-release. Why would you even bother with it?
Well, because I can't get the HD re-release.
Why not?
Hasn't it been off of PSN forever?
Oh, you never bought the PS3 one?
No, because it was just a fighting game. The PS1 is full story mode.
Well, yeah, but it has a whole bunch of stuff taken out of it.
The PS1?
Yeah, the PS1 is a vastly pared down game. It is not the same.
The Dreamcast has JoJo's Venture and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, right? So there was two different arcade games.
Correct.
The PS1 only has one of those, but again, full-on story mode, which you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, but
I don't mean arcade mode. I mean like
cut.
Full.
There's content cut out of it.
Like what?
I don't know in particular, but it runs poorer. It has less frames.
That's true. Yeah, the actual fighting doesn't look as pretty.
And I don't have it right in front of me, but I know that there was content cut.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, there are a number of other things. So anyway, the PS1, PS2 cables, I'm not gonna want either because of that 480p modes are not in there. Plus, I already have an upscaling PS3, so I don't.
That's the thing. If you really like, I could see using it for the PS1. It's more convenient. I think that like that arguably is an ideal solution for the PS1 actually, but for the PS2, you gotta pick and choose. So maybe just stick with those component cables.
Well, it may even still have those issues with switching resolutions.
I don't know.
I would venture to say that if you were to try to play something like a Final Fantasy VII, that you would have that resolution switching issue.
Well, I would have to go back and check, but I think obviously the cables aren't out yet; they're up for pre-order. But I think they might be good with resolution switching because people I think I didn't watch it, but I think they linked to a test play of Chrono Trigger. So
okay.
I think it might be okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, this is a cool announcement for people who want to play on original hardware, don't have a launch PS3 like I do.
You don't even need a launch PS3. Like my PS3 does it too.
Yeah, but I mean for
PS2
games.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
For PS2 games. So anyway, it's a convenient solution. I would recommend it if you weren't as picky as we are. I'm still good with my Toro and OSSC for my Dreamcast, so I'm not switching over there. The Toro is the ultimate solution for that because it's VGA and RGB compatible. So
that's the thing. That's the thing. Like I don't have one, but that's the thing that clinches it for me. Is it it knows what to do in switches. You don't have to You still don't have to run up to your system and futz with settings each time you play a different game.
Well, you still do have to flip a physical switch sometimes, but that's the only thing.
It's less work than it could be, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should move on to the next topic.
Yeah, the actual big topic. This is actually a really big deal. Some of this stuff I knew was coming, I just didn't know when.
I didn't know about
other
this
stuff. Well, Well, here it is. There's a bunch of stuff being released to PC. I don't have the date right now, but we're getting a bunch of Corpse Party stuff on PC. Now, remember that the original Corpse Party was like a Game Maker game, I believe. And
yes,
and that the old original version of Corpse Party has been released on GOG by Xseed, which is pretty cool, and I think Steam as well. But the other Corpse Party games have been various PlayStation portable systems games. So the remake of Corpse Party, Blood Covered, that was a PSP exclusive. The Book of Shadows, the sequel, PSP exclusive, and Blood Drive is was Vita exclusive. But now we have some serious announcements. One of them is Corpse Party Dead Patient. It's kind of Corpse Party 2, but it's not a sequel to Blood Covered. It's its own story, and it's being released in chapters. I had heard that America... Like, I'd seen Xseed post about that game before, so I figured it's eventually going to come over, God knows when. But it looks like now it might actually be getting closer to it. Again, I don't think the full game, maybe just episode 1 and maybe 2. But I have it... Like, this game's been, like, radio silence, at least on the western side of the world, for a long time. So it's cool to see that it still exists. But... Then we get
What
bigger.
do you mean by kind of Corpse Party 2? What do you mean by
that? I like it's another Corpse Party game, but like I don't know if I'm misremembering this, but I think it was like called Corpse Party 2 Dead Patient or something, but it's not actually a sequel to the first Corpse Party. I think it was just like another thing. So I don't know if I'd really trust the number 2 on this because it's just a separate story.
Okay.
But
is it just text-based only again?
I forgot.
They haven't confirmed.
I know you can move around. It's not strictly text-based like Book of Shadows or something. I think you can still move around, but I haven't seen gameplay. But here's where the announcements get freaking ridiculous. Strangely, the first game on PSP, Blood Covered, is not moving over to PC. That's a little bit weird. Especially considering it got remade on the 3DS with an extra chapter.
Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't decide to put that out on PC. That's the only one missing at this point, right?
Yeah, and speaking of only one missing, Vice is not kidding, because the other stuff is coming. So we have Book of Shadows, and we have Blood Drive coming to PC. That's a pretty big deal, because the Vita is certainly not the most... Well, the PSP and the Vita, well, mainly the Vita, is not the most popular console in the West, and even Sony is kind of just not giving a damn about it anymore, so it's cool that it's hitting PC. But here's, at least for me, the biggest announcement, along with Dead Patient, is I had alluded to this during my Let's Play of Blood Drive, but there was like a game that came out after Book of Shadows, but before Blood Drive.
We also talked about how you never thought this game would ever come
this
over.
Is what I'm talking about. Yeah, it was called like Sachiko Birthday, like Hysteric Birthday to You, like the number 2, the letter U. And it's the game is remade, or the title has been renamed for the West. It's called something like Hysteric Birthday Party or something. It makes more sense to us. But this was a game that was like, it was kind of on the goofy side, and it was like, even for Xseed, it was too esoteric to make it over. Like, you know how after Killer 7 and especially No More Heroes, America was like, okay, Suda51, we'll take whatever you got, but then, like, Killer is Dead was too weird even for America until Xseed came over. Like, Xseed had to speak out for Killer is Dead. Like, I know it's weird, but trust us on this. But Hysteric Birthday, even they couldn't pull off. That was really too weird. But now they're actually doing it.
The translator who's working on it, who is actually a friend of the show, we Lotus and I know him personally, Tom Schultz. We talk to him directly pretty often. But he's been working on the Ease games and for years, and also other games that Xseed has released, like Popolo Croix and the Zwei games.
Oh, he loves... Like, I don't even know much about it, but he is a hardcore fan of Popolo Croix.
Yeah.
What's that?
I don't even know.
It's another series that started with PS1. There was a PSP game in the series, and then most recently
America got
an RPG or adventure game or
America got a 3DS game of it, and I think there was some sort of anime adaptation that I think was Japan only.
Yeah, but anyway, he said that the Sachiko game is also the Corpse Party translations have been his babies as of recent, and
yeah, like when he released the announcement that all 3 of these games are coming out, or 4 of these games, he had said something like, "Okay, guys, this is that thing I was working on for the past 2 years or something." It's like, damn.
Yeah, and the Sachiko game, he said, has been the toughest game he's ever translated because it has a lot of
Yeah, he says there's Cthulhu language in it, so good luck translating that shit. It's Cthulhu and Japanese, so have fun with that. I don't know what you want. But here's the funny thing is, like I said, the game is kind of silly. One of the only things I've seen in that game, and I'm not going to go into details because it's spoilers both for this game and for something completely unrelated to this game, but this game came out around when Madoka Magica, the anime series, was kind of quite new, maybe a year old or something, and it was the most popular thing to talk about at the time. And there's this one really iconic death sequence in it that I'm not going to tell you what it was, but trust me, if you've seen the series at all, you probably know what it is, even without me going into any detail about it. It's the first proper death sequence, and it's whoa. The Hysteric Birthday Corpse Party game parodies that, and the thing that causes the death is stupid, so it's just really weird to see. It's you're playing a fucking Corpse Party game and you're is that a Madoka Magica reference? And it's not even Tom Lipschultz sometimes has pop culture references in his translations. This isn't that. This is the way the actual game is written, and it's just really bizarre. So it's okay. So, but the thing is, as goofy as this game is, it's actually canon, because there's an object in Blood Drive called a Calavera, which I never understood that at the time, but it turns out that Manny Calavera from Grim Fandango, it turns out that was a nod the whole time. A Calavera is a skeletal figure that looks kind of like the main character of Grim Fandango. But there's a little Calavera statue in Blood Drive, and there's just no explanation as to where it came from. So a certain character just has it. And I had a couple of people tell me in the comments, "Oh, that's from Hysteric Birthday." It's that was fucking canon? What? So it's this weird parody side game, except whoops, it's not a side game. Okay. There's this ghost that's chasing after a particular character in the game, calling him Knight, because his name is Kishi, so that's Japanese for knight. But this one character is obsessed with him, and I'm why? Your first appearance is this game. Oh no, actually no, it wasn't. It was fucking Hysteric Birthday. So it'll be nice to get context of what the hell was going on with certain characters in Blood Drive.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I've said before that I kind of wish that I never. If I could, as much as I liked them at the time, the PSP and the Vita, as much as I liked them at the time, I want to kind of never use them if I have to, because I want good, crisp, consoleized or PC versions.
That's the thing. Games. Yeah, I was playing on the PS TV, so that's how I do it. But the PC is a more direct way of getting these games to happen.
Exactly.
So, not to mention, if the Vita wasn't the most popular console in the West, there are people to this day who genuinely have not heard of the PS TV at all. That was one of those things where you had to ask GameStop if they had it. It was not just on the shelf. I remember I had modded my PS TV to be able to play games that were whitelisted from it, or blacklisted, whatever the word is.
Yeah.
And eventually I forgot to turn off the automatic firmware updates, so that patched the ability to do the mod away. Yeah. So I was shit. So I had to buy another PS TV. But when I did, it was fucking $40. I think it might have been discounted or something. It's definitely more expensive now. But yeah, I just went to a GameStop and I'm "Do you have PS TVs?" Yeah, we got a couple. Nobody gives a shit. I mean, you can't find them anymore. It's been a few years, but people don't know about the PS TV. When I remember when you got one. I think I was there at the GameStop with you when you were by the way, the PS TV is pretty cool, but is it like the PSP Go, or does it actually take the Vita cartridges or the Vita cards?
And you couldn't find any information online or anything about it.
No,
Like,
yeah.
That was the funny,
so you're like, does
thing.
the PSTV take cards? Like, will I be wasting my money if I buy the games off of your shelf? And the GameStop employee didn't know. Like, to his credit, he took the system out and he was like, "Oh yeah, here we go."
And
but
it
like,
also
but he had
doesn't
to
say
look
on the fucking box.
No, like even like. You kind of have to find it. It's not the hardest thing in the world to find, but you kind of have to look for it. So it's just such like the fact that the employees didn't really quite understand the PSTV, like, and even when I had my second PSTV, like I picked up a copy of Silent Hill Book of Memories, and I had told like I had mentioned to a different GameStop employee like, oh, I'm looking forward to this because it's kind of funny because like the PSTV like doesn't normally take this game, and the employee was like, no, it has a card slot, and I had to explain to the employee that like, yeah, but it doesn't like all Vita games. Like, nobody knows or cares about the fucking PSTV, and it's like, it's actually a really brilliant system, and just nobody, including Sony, cares about it.
Yeah, that's why I, if I could get rid of it, and it looks like it's getting to that point.
Yeah.
There are very few Vita exclusive games that are worth keeping the thing around for. But there are still plenty of PSP exclusive games that unfortunately probably will never be ported anymore.
I know. For Vita, there's like Uncharted Golden Abyss, and I mean, well, Book of Memories if you care, but nobody likes Book of Memories. But like Uncharted Golden Abyss is like one of very few games I can think of. Maybe the Vita Katamari game and the Vita Monkey Ball game or something, but like
and then the Vita Luminous game, but even those have like other games in their series.
Yeah, and Gravity Rush got a PS4 release, so it's like okay. And,
So,
Dracologist, what you're saying?
Two games that come to mind on the Vita that's good on the go. Severed and Axiom Verge.
Oh yeah,
that's a good point.
Axiom Verge has a bunch now.
Axiom Verge has a bunch of different ports, but Severed,
it
yes.
Came out on Vita first, I think.
No, Severed is a very good call though. I forgot about
both
that.
Both of them are on Switch though now.
Wait,
so,
Severed's on the Switch, really?
Both of them, yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's the way to play them now.
Okay, well.
But
wait. Does Switch has touch controls?
Yes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, how about that?
Because that was Severed needed the touch control
very
much.
In fact, there's no docked mode for that switched game, I believe. I think you have to play it. With your.
Well, yeah, that's one of those games that on the Vita as well. Like, I don't believe it's PSTV compatible, or if it is, then playing
it's just too
sucks.
opposite.
Yeah, like you can't because the PSTV has. Like, if you press L3 and R3, like, if you push the sticks in, then little hands appear indicating, like, if you want to touch something, then move the hand over and grab it. But, like, if you're doing games that require reflexes or, like, Fruit Ninja or something, it's like unplayable.
Yeah, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we got to move on here. There was some interesting news for the Room series. First of all, the original remastered Room 1 came out for Switch, which is awesome.
Nice.
I'm very happy about that. And so it even has better graphics than the original. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Room 3, though, had this company, Fireproof Games, is putting out the news. The Room 3 was announced for Steam, which is great.
Yeah, that made me very happy because for years they've had Room 1 and 2, but not 3. And I remember the 3's been out for a long time.
Two or 3 years at this
point.
So
it's finally available on PC instead of just phones. So that makes me quite happy.
Yeah, and it's also remastered.
These games.
It's I'm sorry.
My brother plays the Room games.
Yeah, they're really good.
I've only seen some of 2, like the ending of 2, actually. I think I was helping Vice with the last 1 or 2 puzzles of that game because we were just kind of idling. But I liked what I saw, so it's really cool that... how many games are there? Like 4 right now?
4.
But it's really cool that the third finally hit PC.
And the third is much more complex than the first two games. So it has a lot going for it, and they've also remastered the graphics to make it look good on PC.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that, and hopefully that means that the fourth game is coming soon. And hopefully, if the first one sells well on the Switch, the rest will follow as well. So I'm really hoping good things for this series, and that it gets a new audience, because more and more of my favorite smartphone games, there aren't many of them, but the few that I really love, a lot of them are being left in the dust because of firmware updates with phones and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
a lot of companies can't keep up, and why would they update games that are 7 years old? Like some of the cave shmups are unplayable on current Apple devices.
Those
which
weird,
really sucks.
Those weird, not even good, but I want them on principle. Those, like, I think there were like 2 Silent Hill phone games honestly, who
They're
cares? But kind of I do. What?
They're visual novel games, I think. Something like that.
One of them was like a first-person, like, escape the series of hallway sequence. I
showed you
know
that.
what. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I don't know what the second one is though. The only visual novel I can think of for Silent Hill was the Game Boy Advance game.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Like Silent Hill play novel.
And I actually have some phone games from before smartphones that I wish had console versions or something. Like the Doom RPG games, which were fantastic. They were really good. I beat them both.
And there was a Silent Hill phone game as well. I forgot if that was... Or, excuse me, Resident Evil, I think. I forgot if that was official or not, though.
I don't know.
It had a Jill Sandwich joke in it when you were like in a cafeteria. You're like,
Does the Doom RPG has the one that has hissy in it?
What has what in it?
Hissy.
I don't know what that is.
I take that as a no then.
I mean, maybe. I don't know what it is.
Hissy is a mascot cacodemon.
Oh.
No, I think Vice. Are you thinking the really old one that's like ASCII?
No, it's not ASCII, but you played it on Java phones, like flip phones back at the time. Okay. And you just used the up, down, left, right, and OK button.
Okay.
But they were all really good, and they were well written. It had a lot of the second one in particular had a lot of dialogue that was really funny. And it also tied the id series together. Like it solidified like the Doom Marine is related to BJ Blazkowicz.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
I'm not exactly sure about that is a relation. I know this kind of in the lore joke, but it's kind of a little bit of far fetched. I know they just saying it because both of the two guys are block-faced blonde guys.
Well, they also confirmed that Commander Keen is one of them as well.
I believe that Billy Blaze is actually
Blazkowicz. Yeah. So he's the grandson of the guy in Wolfenstein, and then the Doom guy is the grandson of him.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not gonna get into that. We got more stuff to cover.
We got deep lore in fucking Doom of all things.
Actually,
one more bit of Doom lore that I really do like actually is in Wolfenstein, the Spear of Destiny, the final encounter is just a straight up like red, stereotypical looking demon. And I think the Cyber Demon is supposed to be him, like, after you blew off his arm and leg, he got cybernetic attachments. And it's like, oh shit, so, like, Doom Guy is fighting BJ Blazkowicz's nemesis, whom Blazkowicz did not properly kill, or even if he did, he was brought back.
Yeah. What has science done? Anyway, here's another big announcement from Sega. This came out of the freaking blue. So... all three arcade virtual on titles are being re-released for the PS4. I am so fucking happy.
And no, like you said, all three of these are arcade games, but back in the day they reported to the Saturn, the Dreamcast, and the Xbox 360 respectively, right?
And not only that, but that third one, which is called Virtual on Force, was only released in Japan and was region locked.
Well, wasn't Dreamcast one as well?
No, Dreamcast Oratorio Tangram came out in the United States.
No kidding.
Yeah, and then I will further add that it came to the U.S. on the Xbox Live Arcade when the Xbox 360 version did get ported. So we did get the HD version of the second game.
That's cool.
But all three
first...
games are coming to PS4 in upgraded, upscaled glory. And
now, here's a question. Can we do this in a way... Well, no, actually, never mind. The answer is yes, right? Because it'll have online play, I'm sure. Yes. Because, like, for the first game, if you wanted your own TV and not split screen, you would actually have to use a fucking link cable for the Sega Saturn, because everyone had one of those. Actually,
you could probably even do LAN if you wanted to, I bet.
Yeah. Wasn't the link cable, like, Japan only? Or at the very least, the release of Virtual On that came with the link cable was Japan only. America just had the straight game.
But this will replace all of those original titles. So it'll be better than the original versions.
Well, here's a fun fact. Did you know that America already got the first Virtual On the PS4?
Yes, it came as part of a Yakuza game, right?
Yeah. Because in Yakuza, you can go to the arcade and you can play actual arcade games. Although in old school Yakuza 2, I think it was like a made-up, invented arcade game for Yakuza, kind of like Boxelios in Yakuza 3. Yeah. It's like a new game, but in Yakuza like 0, for example, you can play Super Hang-On and Outrun, which are legitimate old games. And in Yakuza 6, you could play Virtua Fighter 5. In Yakuza 4 or 5, I forgot which one, you could play Virtua Fighter 2. So in Yakuza Kiwami 2, I believe, you could play Virtual On. So at the time, this was how you can get Virtual On the PS4. It was cool as shit, but now we're getting it as its own thing, so it's kind of nice that you don't have to play Kiwami 2 and pay 100 yen or whatever to play Virtual On.
This is really cool, also because there is a Japanese exclusive PS4 Virtual On game already out on the PS4. It is a crossover with some anime. It's called Another Magical Virtual On.
Okay.
It ties into another magical story episode or something.
I didn't even know that. Well, what's cool though is that even if it is Japanese only, it is very easy.
You can import it.
Well, yeah, you could just import the game if you want, because the PlayStation 3 and 4 are region free, but you could also just use a Japanese PSN account and just buy it right now if you wanted to, which is super nice.
So you could have all 4 games, no problem. They have not confirmed a US release for any of these titles.
Yeah, but still.
However, I think they will. Number one, that's number one, and number 2, they're arcade games, so more than likely they're already in English anyway. If they never decide to bring them to the West, you can download them and not have a hard time.
Not to mention, I can't speak for the later games, but in the original one, I think it really was just arcade mode, like pick a mech, beat the other mech, like, and it's like Mortal Kombat, like next fight. So like, how much do you really need to know language wise? You know, it's like fighting vipers. Like there is no dialogue. Who gives a shit? Just play the game.
I will also add that a company had been working with Sega when they had originally debuted that crossover game for the PS4 was earlier this year. It was in February. A company had partnered with Sega to crowdfund the release of a twin stick controller. To work with
it. That's right, because Virtual On always has had like a twin stick controller dedicated pretty much exclusively for it because it replicated the arcade experience.
Exactly. And so on the Saturn and the Dreamcast, right? And the 360, all 3 of them had official twin sticks from Sega.
Yeah.
But this company wanted to release them for that crossover game, and they were going to crowdfund in order to put out like a really high quality stick. And they failed. They failed pretty hard.
I actually didn't know that. I just knew that there was a campaign for it.
They only raised about a quarter of what they needed. So what they did was they decided to start it up again with a new design, with these new 3 games in mind.
Oh.
But because these games are more popular than that new game, the classic games are beloved. There was a lot more interest, to the point where they had also lowered their quota. In order to get it done, they lowered it a quarter to make it, make sure it passed.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is, in under 12 hours, it was funded.
Nice.
And this is a crowdfunding effort in Japan. And if you take a look at their it's like a Kickstarter almost. It looks really good. Really high quality parts are being used and stuff. So here's the thing, though. It's not like Kickstarter where you can like as many people as they want can add on to it once it's funded. It actually closes once it's funded. So as of right now, nobody can order a twin stick. Which really sucks.
Oh, it's once it's funded and not once the 30-day deadline or whatever?
Exactly.
Oh,
once it's funded, it's done.
So, like, if I were the guy who donated the last $1, I would personally be shutting out everyone else?
Correct.
Oh,
so,
wow.
It was 12 hours since the announcement of this, of these 3 games being released on PS4. It was funded. I would be very, very, very surprised if they did not reopen it, or make additional units to be sold on like PlayAsia and things like that. Because why come up with this design and everything and have it only sold out within 12 hours? I mean, obviously more people want it.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like there were people who were in bed and woke up and missed it. Like, come
exactly.
on.
Exactly. So I unfortunately missed out on it, and of course, like I was gonna think about it for a little while because it was like a $500 like controller.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have gone that far personally, but like I am usually.
You understand why though? Why
no, I mean, not even that, but even when I'm pretty sure I want to fund something, I often like see how things go, and I'll fund within the last like 3 to 5 days of the project or something.
Exactly, and
like,
that's the
I'm
way
never
I am
a
too.
day one like yes.
Also, I don't know anything about the service or anything, so like I didn't know anything about it. But anyway, so I missed out on that. But at least we have controllers that have twin sticks already on them, so it's not the same, but
the best experience is still gonna be with the Sega Saturn then, because you can get a twin stick controller for that. It's fine.
No.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I want to finish up a couple small things so we can finish up tonight. So I did talk about Strikers 1945 Plus being released on the Switch. I would tell everybody, just real quick here, to avoid it as of right now.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, dear.
So it unfortunately has a bunch of lag in it, like very noticeable. Every time you shoot, it lags. So yeah, that's a very big glaring error. Do not buy it until it's patched. And this is on all versions of the game, also the PS4 version, and also the Xbox One version, I believe. So do not buy this quite yet. Wait until it's patched. If it should be patched, this company has been good about patching mistakes. It more than likely will happen, but don't buy it yet until it happens. So also the Dark Souls Switch version was just released. I also want to make a shout out because GameStop just shipped my Solaire amiibo, so I'm very much looking forward to putting that beside my
It so
computer.
very much weirds me out. Like I know that amiibos have gone in different directions since like it's no longer just about Smash, but
none
like,
of them are like realistic looking.
Yeah, like a Dark Souls character, it's like whoa.
Yeah.
Dark Souls, like Solaire in what is it called, Super Smash Brothers, and like you try to heal yourself with an Estus and get knocked immediately out.
Yeah, right.
And every swing is painfully slow.
Yeah.
And Solaire, we've mentioned this before, but the Solaire amiibo allows you to learn the Praise the Sun gesture. You can do that anyway if you join his covenant, but that has a really demanding faith requirement. So if you just want to get the gesture, then you can do that with the amiibo.
I should also mention that I'm at the part in the PC version of Dark Souls Remastered where I can basically go save Solaire from dying. So I'm pretty happy about this. It's coincidental, but I've donated enough humanity in order to do so.
Oh, you donated all you're level 2 in the Humanity Covenant now?
I am.
Chaos Covenant?
I am, and I'm trying to beat the Ceaseless Discharge in the Demon Ruins right now, and he fucking sucks. I hate him.
There's actually a super easy way to do it. You have to run up to where you first triggered him, so just activate him, and then the hardest part is that part right there, just not getting hit as you run away. But you want to run all the way back to the Mist Door where you first entered, because based on the lore, he's clumsy, and you'll notice there's this big river of lava by the Mist Door. So if you did everything right, he should just trip and fall and like hang on to the grab onto the ledge that you're at, so his giant fist is just holding onto the ledge.
The thing is, I've already triggered him, so I don't know whether I can do it anymore.
Yes, you can.
Oh, okay.
So like hack away at his hands until he lets go and just dies. Like it's almost a joke boss. Yeah.
Wow, because if you fight him for real, he's very, very difficult.
Yeah, the first time I ever played the game, I did fight him for real. During the Let's Play, I think I was able to get the Goofy death, and like I had real trouble doing that the first time I played the game, so I was super proud of myself that I got the ironically easier technique pulled off.
Yeah, I want to go try that to see whether that works, because fighting him for real sucks.
Yeah. Fighting him for real is pretty awful, because if you're not a projectile user, then you kind of gotta wait for him to throw his giant fuck off. Like, I think he mostly deals physical damage, but he's so big that if he throws like a right punch at you, it just goes right through you. Because like, imagine that in real life, like an actual like skyscraper-sized giant punches you. Oh, but you have a shield. It's like, get the fuck out of here! Like, he's just gonna knock you out.
Yeah. Oh, have you heard who he is in relation to everybody in this game?
That everyone in that general vicinity has really sad lore behind them.
So apparently he's Queeleg's brother. Which
when I had asked you before if you had noticed him out the window in Queeleg's domain, it's because you could kind of see him out there, and the reason for that is that he positioned himself in such a way that he could look in and see his sister from afar. It's like everything's super sad.
Keep an eye on her. Yeah.
So once again, as far as Quelaag was concerned, and as far as this guy is concerned, you're an asshole. Because I think, do you know why?
You came into their house and fucked with them.
Not only that, but you know how he took a swing at you when you grabbed that armor set?
Yeah, it's because it's her clothes, right?
No, I think it's his mom's.
His mom's clothes, okay.
And her body's just on a fucking like altar. Like,
yeah.
Like I know it's a video game glowy item, but like you went up to like his mother's shrine, and you took her shit literally right in front of him. Like,
and he got pissed off.
Fuck you, yeah. Like, of course he did.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't think you know this yet, but wait till you learn why he is the way he is. That's also unfortunate.
Everything sucks, just like in Hollow Knight. And the only other thing that I really wanted to talk about is that I recently received my copy of the Hardcore Gaming 101 Retro Horror Guide to Retro Horror book.
I did too. I still got to read it though.
I do too. I just received it. I just wanted to give it a shout out.
Fate in it?
I'm sorry?
Does it have the game Fate in it?
No.
But so that game is retro and horror.
What's that for? What is that, a PC game?
Yeah, it's been made recently, and it's been very popular lately.
Oh no,
it's a good.
These are all old games.
Yeah, these are actual. This isn't retro style. It's actual retro.
Yeah. The only
we'll talk about it later.
The only new game that's in here, the newest game that's in here is the newest Splatterhouse game, and that's because the old Splatterhouse games are in here.
Yeah.
But that was fun.
I was really excited to get this. First of all, because I've had a long storied history with Hardcore Gaming 101. A lot of my early internet presence was in their forums. And I'm personal friends with the owner of the website, and I love everything he does. it still amazes me that somebody that I know personally knows how to make such a good series of books.
Yeah.
These books are really high quality. They are laid out great, and they have their attention to detail is so fantastic, and they're
just
very
beautiful
readable.
to look at.
They're very,
they are
readable,
very readable
and great to look at. My favorite part of this book in particular, he goes over some games you think you would, like the Ghosts and Goblins series, the Splatterhouse series.
Yeah.
There's nothing, and every game in their respective spin-offs and all that stuff.
Like Maximo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But on top of all that, there's Zombies Ate My Neighbors and its respective sequel. Monster Party for the NES, and a few like old games like for PC games that I have never heard or never played of. So,
can you name? Yeah, I was just gonna say, can you name one?
The one that fascinates me. I've heard of this game before, but I'm going to enjoy reading about it. I want to play this game someday. It's a game called Project Firestart for the Commodore 64.
Huh.
It is a proto survival horror game.
Nice.
So that game looks amazing. It looks like a lot of fun. It's probably clunky as shit, but it looks like a blast. And there's some oddities in here too, which I'm always all about. Nightmare Creatures games, you know.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I have all of his books, and this one certainly wasn't one I was going to be missing. I'm not going to miss any of his books.
Yeah, this is my jam.
I think his next book is going to be about wrestling games, and even though that wrestling isn't my jam, I still will probably buy that.
No, there's still. I mean, it's like when Old Man Snob was on the podcast. It's still cool to read and hear about.
Yeah, exactly. And the history of wrestling video games is really fascinating. So
yeah,
totally into it. So. And one other thing, I just wanted to mention this real quick. My girlfriend and I are thinking about going to see the new Halloween movie, and
I hear it's good.
Very excited. I just wanted to let anybody. I didn't know this personally, but apparently, what this movie is, if you haven't seen it yet, this is just background. It's not spoilers. It is apparently a sequel to the original movie, ignoring all of the sequels.
Yeah, and I heard John Carpenter worked on the music again.
Great. I'm sure the movie had his blessing. So the major thing that usually I would have expected all of the sequels to be ignored except for Halloween 2, because Halloween 2 is particularly important in the lore of Halloween. Since this is so old, I'm not breaking any things, and I think any spoiler issues here. But in Halloween 2, it was revealed that Jamie Lee Curtis's character Laurie Strode was the sister of Michael Myers. Not in the first movie, the second movie. So I'm wondering whether they address that at all in the new movie, or whether she's just straight up not related to him. Who knows?
Yeah, and a lot of the movies went in different directions anyway.
Well, it's widely held that the only ones that are worth watching are the Jamie Lee Curtis ones, which are 1, 2, H2O, and Resurrection. And Resurrection being the
was
least
H2O
important.
worth watching?
A lot of people like it compared to all the rest of the movies in the series.
Okay.
Apparently, or all the rest of the sequels rather. Most people say that it was probably one of the better sequels.
Okay.
But apparently this one is so good that none of the other sequels match up to it in the slightest. Even
I heard it really
one
was quite good. Like, from what I heard about the new Halloween is that like nothing tops the original, but this is a damn good movie for what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the way I heard James Rolfe talk about it. So I'm
exactly. Well, that's how I was going to bring that up. Yeah, because like in the conversation he was having, he had said that like it may seem like a little thing, but some of the sequels haven't properly used the Halloween theme, and like they just used it weird times or something, because you got to have it somewhere in the movie, but apparently this new Halloween movie uses it to good effect, which is always satisfying.
I'm excited because my girlfriend wants to see it, because she's all about female empowerment, and this is one of those series that pioneered it in the horror genre. So she's very happy to see Jamie Lee Curtis like kicking ass in this series, and I'm probably going to show the original to her sometime this week so she can.
While you're at it, show her Virus. Remember Virus? Does anybody remember Virus?
Is that the one with where she fought like a robot that had an AI in it, and like it was made out of a bunch of different computers?
I think kind of.
Yeah.
I think it was the movie Virus It's Alive, right?
No, I don't know if it was called anything different in Europe, but it was called Virus, like in America.
It's when like some alien shit falls into a tanker ship and it starts transforming like mechanic and organic parts into a single entity.
Bingo.
Yeah, I saw it.
It blows my mind that not only does somebody in the podcast know what I'm talking about, but
all
both
three
of you do. That's like, because that is, it's not like at this point, that's a pretty obscure reference to make. I'm surprised.
Nobody talks about that movie. All right.
I think that it's not a comic book, actually. I think.
I thought it was based on Cyrus the Virus.
I thought it was based on Resident Evil Virus. And
all right, I'm done.
It's time to sign off.
Sorry, not alive. Aware. It's aware.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, we went plenty off topic, but there was some juicy stuff here this week. So I really enjoyed this episode. A lot of really cool things, and I'll update you on all of these things as well. As things come out, and I'll update you on news once the SG, the Mega SG is about to be launched, or there's additional news on it.
Yeah.
And I also will let you know what I think about it once I have it in my hands, but I'm sure it'll be awesome. But anyway, that is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. Ring the bell for notifications as well. While they're I wasn't even joking.
I know, but like every time, like
yes,
it's gotten
YouTube is
you have to though.
Well, it's gotten to a Pavlovian point though, where whenever I hear about the bell, I just picture like, be sure to ring that bell. It's just like, oh god.
That's why I say it goofy, is because I know it's stupid, but also we have to say it.
I know.
Because if you want to get a notification when we post a podcast, which is on time every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm sure you want to see it. I mean, especially on the YouTube page, I've been noticing people have really been watching the Recon episodes more than the CoreCon episodes. Maybe it's because the notifications haven't been coming through. We get almost twice as many listeners on the Recon episodes rather than CoreCon, at least on the SoundCloud.
New idea. Let's retitle the CoreCon episodes Recon. And then just watch the views roll in.
I don't think that's it. I think it's just people get busy towards the end of the week or something.
No, that's just like the joke that I make though for my own YouTube channel is whenever I put up like a next game reveal of what I'm gonna play, that by far gets like, I mean, with my Let's Plays, the view count goes up, but my next game reveal gets like the fastest number of views quickly and the most comments by far. So it's like, I'll just make my entire channel just what game I'm going to play next videos.
Make it out of the black box. So I understand why it's this way. It's because we're talking about hot topics. It's probably partially that.
I haven't shot there in years. What are you talking about?
No.
Where's my Jack Skellington shirt?
No.
Just no.
No. All right. Anyway, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, not as cool anymore. Anyway,
it's still a hot topic. It's fine.
Well, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursdays for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness. Listen to it. The podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. Plus, I get to say it like that in the intro. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, and Twitter.
And you can follow me.
Switch and Battle.net, and now you can talk. You have permission.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you got any more weird things people can follow you on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I do actually, but
you can follow me. Yeah, I was gonna say like MySpace.
You can follow him home.
Yeah, great.
Follow me home.
Follow me home. Just don't call them
with the Halloween music playing in the background.
Yeah, great. Used to great effect. All right, so you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you're interested in getting in on videos early, seeing exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or even getting in on a Discord chat with me and other patrons, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me on Steam, Skype, and Discord, along with in the Discord group Lord of the Crocus Carol and Steam Guards, Steam Sentinels of the Store.
All right.
Alrighty.
Well, we will catch everybody for a new episode of CoreCon on Wednesday or on Thursday, where we talk about the Mother series and also the phenomenon that is Undertale.
Until next time, everyone.
Good evening.